Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's an early morning for many of us, so I appreciate you coming. I'm going to just jump right in because we don't have a lot of time together, and I want to make the most of it. The activity that I'm doing is an activity that I designed with teachers from the Adult Numeracy Network, which, if you are unfamiliar with them, it's the professional organization for teachers with adult education in mathematics. And I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. But we designed this, this is an activity, we're teachers, we're gonna be doing it together, but it's designed to be used with students. And our goal was to connect the beauty and the joy and the creativity in art to explore some essential math concepts. So that's what we're gonna be doing. So in this workshop, we're gonna be exploring symmetry in design, and we're going to actually, hopefully, hang our mathematical art in the virtual walls of our own Minnesota Summer Institute gallery. So it's a little bit early, so I'm going to give people a couple more minutes before we start the very first activity to come in, and I'd like to get to know all of you who have come. And so I would just, if you could, just in the chat, share your name and what's your favorite color. And when sharing your favorite color, feel free to let your Mathema poet fly. Like, so if your favorite color is red, is it, we're talking about blushing cheeks, bleeding hearts, sunrise, sunset, the bowl of cherries at 4 p.m. in the summer shade. What are we talking about? Red cardinal against the snow, bright orange of the sun on a smoky day. These are lovely. It's purple like the Northern Lights. That is my dream, to see the Northern Lights someday. All right, so keep those colors coming, but we're gonna keep going with the activity. We're gonna start. So thank you all for those beautiful colors. So I wanted to break the ice with some colors because we're going to do some coloring. That's going to be our first activity. And so this design here is made from 6 interlocking, intersecting circles. And so we're going to circle, and in a moment we're going to drop the link in the chat, but I want to kind of show you what it's going to look like so that you get a sense of what to do. So this is the link we're going to drop. Prosperity green. Sorry, these colors are so lovely as they come in. So when you click on that link, you're going to get to our gallery, and this is the gallery that hopefully will populate with lots of images. And so the first thing you're going to do is go where it says start here. You're going to click on this link. And that's going to take you to a page with that image, and it's a colorable version of this image. So just using the colors on the side, you can color it in any way you want. There's no right or wrong. Just do what feels good. You have all of these wonderful colors people are still writing about. And if you want to change a color, just click on it again and it'll change it. But you'll play around with it. You'll get a sense. You're going to have a couple of minutes. So anyway, I'm gonna stop us there. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take a screenshot of that picture. And if you know how to do that, that's great. If you don't, here, if you have a Mac, there's kind of 2 different ways to do it. On a Mac is one direction, and on a PC, here's another. So on a Mac, it's Command-Shift-Control-4. And so I start with that one because that's the one that I'm going to be doing. So when I hit Command-Control-Shift-4, my cursor turns to kind of this little crosshairs. And then I click on my mouse and hold down, and I get the image that I want. I kind of get it to the box. And then I let go, and you'll hear a little camera sound. Then go back into the gallery, find a spot where there's nothing, like any place where you see any of the squiggles. And my shortcut for pasting is Control-V. So I hit Control-V. It's going to load my picture. I'm going to put my name and my city. And then I'm going to hit Publish. Oop, and I'm going to misspell. I'm going to spell my name. I'll go back and fix that. But so that's what I'd like you to do. So if you guys could get started, Andy's dropped it in the chat. Here it is on the screen. It's a bit.ly, Minnesota Summer Institute Gallery. and get started. And happy coloring. And if you have any questions, please let us know, shout them out. And I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes of coloring time. So if you're able to complete one image, feel free to create another. So I'm seeing in the chat that some people are having trouble pasting it. So a shortcut for pasting is if you hit Control V, but the first thing you need to do is kind of click anywhere where you see the blue and green swirl. So like not on somebody else's image, but anywhere where there's nothing. If you click in there and then hit Control V, it'll paste. But I'm gonna actually, you can leave your window open, the scrap coloring, but we're gonna keep going a little bit, but we are definitely gonna have, this was kind of just to get used to the tool, but we're gonna have more time to explore it when we get to the symmetry activity at the end. So I'm going to move us forward a little bit. And okay, so actually before I do that, I just want, because I don't know if people were able to look at my screen. I was trying to share the images that they came in, but here are just some of the wonderful pictures in our gallery so far. Oh yeah, I love that. I love these lines here. So we'll be we'll be able to look at that a little bit more intentionally. I just wanted to appreciate all the colorings that you all have done. And so I want to take a look at some of the images that I have here on the screen. They're all made from the same design that you've been working on with the 6 interlocking circles. And I've used color to highlight, to bring out a particular feature in the design. And in fact, we can say that the designs on the left, the ones that are under where it says examples, because of how they colored, how I colored them, they all share a feature that the designs on the right do not, that the non-examples do not. And so in the chat, if you could, what do you notice about the colorings on the left? What characteristic do you see shared by the examples that is not shared by the non-examples? So the word symmetry has come up 3 times in a row. Boom, boom, boom. And so Therese or Shelley or Paulina, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. Tell us, and everybody else, what exactly do you see? What is symmetrical? How can you describe the symmetry that you're seeing? Balanced. Rebecca says you could fold it in half and both halves will match. This idea of balance has come up again. Okay, so now we're talking about this line of symmetry. It's not random. The opposite sides are equal. Nice, nice. You can keep these observations going. I want to go back to something that somebody said about we can fold it in half and both halves will match. And someone else mentioned a line of symmetry. And so just to kind of help us all see what—
Is anything in it?
Oh, hello? Okay. So I put these lines in to see like this idea of that we could fold it along these lines and that the 2 sides would match themselves. And that's something that doesn't come up on the other side. And for some of these, like I could fold it along this line and it would match what's on the other side, but then I could also fold it this way. Some of these have more than one line of symmetry. We can fold them in different ways to get them to match each other. How about this one down here? Can I fold this one in half by folding it right here? Would it be the same on both sides? Would opposite sides be equal, as someone said? You can answer in the chat. Therese says no. A couple of people are saying no. Can somebody be a little like, why not? It looks like I can. Red on yellow, right? So it's the color, the shape itself, the design would be the same. But here, if we folded it this way, it would be yellow and red don't match. Okay, cool. And the words have already come out. You know, these are examples of symmetry and these are examples of asymmetry, meaning not symmetry. So far, just to kind of put together our working definition of symmetry. it has at least one imaginary line, at least one, where you could fold the image along that line and both parts would match up exactly. The line acts like a mirror, okay? And to be specific, we're talking about line symmetry here. This type of symmetry is called line symmetry. Sometimes it's called reflective symmetry. Again, that idea of a mirror. So here's an activity. Yeah, we'll take a minute to do it. So just to kind of practice that idea, here is something I did with students. I would give students a lot more time than I'm about to give you, and I apologize for that. But here's a bunch of letters, and I've included a secret message to you all that you will be able to see if you remove the letters without line symmetry. So if there are any letters here that you could fold in any way and have them match up, leave those letters in. And if there are any letters that do not, take them out. And the ones that remain will spell a message for you. So I'm going to give you just a minute. You can put it in the chat, but actually don't hit enter. Let's see what happens if we try to all hit enter at the same time. Give you about 20 more seconds. Okay. So if you have your answer, put it in the chat and hit enter. Everybody hit enter. Math code, nice. And to help everybody see that, like I said, if this is a new idea or something, it's also early in the morning, there are lots of things that slow us down, but just to kind of help you see it. And again, I would, with students, I would explore a little bit more, make sure everybody sees it, but just for our purposes here, I just want to make sure everybody can see. So if you MATHCODE are all letters that have line symmetry in their capital form using this font, and to kind of help you see that some of them have multiple. The O, I would argue, has infinite, but maybe people would push back, but not today. But okay, so we're going to move on, and we're actually going to look at another kind of symmetry. And so we looked at line symmetry. We talked about these imaginary lines where you can fold the image along that line, and both parts would match up equally. So here we have another kind of symmetry. There's something else you can do to an image to get it to match up with itself again. So in the chat, I'm going to ask kind of the same question. Please use the chat, make some observations about the characteristics that are shared by the examples that are not shared by the non-examples. What are some ways that we could move these images that are examples to match up with themselves again? Okay, so one word that is definitely coming up a lot is rotation. The idea that we can spin these, like I can't fold this one here. There's no way I can fold it and have it match up with itself, but I can spin it. If I spin it around, if I spin this one around, I can get it to match up with itself again. Okay, and some of them, it's interesting, some of the examples do also have line symmetry, like this one here has line symmetry, and this one here has line symmetry. So you can have this idea of rotational symmetry. You can rotate them and have line symmetry or not have line symmetry. So you can overlap, but you don't have to. And when we talked about line symmetry, we talked about, sometimes like that O or H, certain images have more than one type of line symmetry. And so just to kind of put it out there, you don't have to answer in the chat because we're going to jump right into it. But think about it, like how might we quantify rotational symmetry? Which is what we're looking at here. That's the name of this idea of when you can rotate or spin or turn. Any of those kind of words come up when students are describing, when they're describing what they see. But the term that we use is rotational symmetry. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that idea about how to quantify. So So Lynn's saying quarter turn, half turn. Absolutely. That's exactly what we're going to look at now. So keep in mind Lynn's comment about this kind of quarter turn, half turn, what that might look like as we talk about. So here's our working definition of rotational symmetry. So you can turn an image some fraction of a turn or some number of degrees, and it will look the same as it did before you started turning it. So what I'm going to ask you to do is pick one of these images, and one of them came from my garden. So if you pick that one, you'll be my favorite. But I won't tell you which one it is till after. But pick one of these images and keep your eye on it. Okay, 3, 2, 1. If you want, I'll do that one more time, just now that you know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to spin it. Keep your eye on one part of the image that you like, or choose another image. I'm going to spin them one more time. Now, each of these images, as they spun, they matched themselves, right? The image kind of turned, it matched itself exactly, but each of these has a different type of rotational symmetry. So now we're going to talk a little bit about that question about quantifying. And just get a little bit into the language of rotational symmetry, because that's going to help us when we're looking at designs and creating designs. So the language of rotational symmetry starts with the idea that a full turn of anything, of an image or of anything, is 360 degrees. So when we describe this clover, which is not one of the images from my garden, we say that it has 4-fold symmetry, or we describe it as having 90-degree rotational symmetry. Okay, kind of 2 ways of doing it. Does anyone have any idea where that number 4 comes from? You can put it in the chat. Excellent. Thank you, Elizabeth, for saying that, because I was hoping to get that idea, because this shape here does have 4 lines of symmetry, right? We can do it here, we can do it on the side, we can do it vertically, we can do it horizontally, and we can do it on either of the diagonals. There happen to be 4 lines of symmetry here, but that's actually not, it's so misleading, the language, but that's not what 4-fold symmetry is referring to. The folds are referring to the rotation. Right, so that I just wanted to put that out there, because that's definitely something that is not intuitive, that students and anyone who's engaging with this needs to, you need to just kind of that misleading term, we need to address it. So we say 4-fold because you can turn it a quarter turn to get it to match up with itself. We're actually going to look, I'm going to look at a close-up of that so that you can see it a little bit clearer. So we say a quarter turn because it's a quarter turn and then it matches, and then another quarter turn and then another quarter turn and then another quarter turn, and then it's back where it started. And we also say 90 degrees because a quarter turn of 360 is 90 degrees. So I'm actually going to share in a slightly different way, and I'm going to take that image, and hopefully you can see what's on my screen. Give me just 1 second. So you see, as I turn it, it's a very handy design feature in Google Sheets, or excuse me, in Google Slides, that actually it tells you the percent of the degree that you've changed it. And when I hit 90, now my image has returned. My image has moved to where it matches itself. And if I turn it another 90, now it matches itself. Another 90, it matches itself. And a final 90, and it matches itself, and we're back to where we started. So that's the idea of 90 degree, how many degrees you need to turn for it to match itself, or how many degrees, excuse me, how many turns, how much of a full turn you need to do in order to get it to match up with itself again. So let me go back. Okay, can you all see my full screen, and your anybody? Can you see my slides again? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So Now let's practice kind of the language that we've just used in this flower. So we're going to describe the rotational symmetry we see in this flower. To help, I'm giving you some sentence starters. Don't do all of them, just pick one. But see if you can complete any of those statements. This flower has blank fold rotational symmetry. This flower has blank degrees rotational symmetry. I did, Andy, thank you. And you can turn this flower blank to get it to match up with itself. Give you just a second, and you can actually just drop it right in the chat if you do. It's gonna have us do another waterfall, but oh, sorry, I let the cat out of the bag. So this one actually is a little different from the clover, and it has 5-fold rotational symmetry because it's going to take 5 turns to, if I do it a 1/5 of a turn, it'll match itself. And it's 72 degrees because that's 360 divided by 5 is 72. And kind of to help you see that, right? You think of each of these like round parts as the top. And so if we take it and move it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, each of those turns would have to be 72 degrees for them to be to match up with each other, with themselves. Okay, so I'm sorry if I'm rushing through, so I'm glad. The 5 petals do give a clue, absolutely. I'm sorry that I'm rushing through this, but I just want to give you guys as much time as I can to do this next part. So this is something that we can talk about a little bit more. Also, these slides are going to be available. I'm going to put some other resources as well. So I know that if this is new, this is definitely too fast to go through it. But I do want to talk about what I'm going to allow you guys to do. What we're going to have you guys do is work on some symmetry challenges. So now that the coloring tool that you used in the beginning, I'm going to have you use those tools. I'm going to have you use that same tool to create images that meet any of these challenges. So if you want to try to create a design that has rotational symmetry and line symmetry, great. Rotational symmetry, but no line symmetry, okay? No symmetry at all. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but this is your set. You can choose from any of these. And once you do, you're going to put your image back in the Padlet. So these are the challenges. I'm going to give you some tools in order to help you with the challenges. So when I gave you before, you had an image made of 6 interlocking circles, but I want to spice it up if you want to explore another one. So here, if you click on any of these, so 7 interlocking circles is going to be this, it's going to look similar to the 6, but obviously it has 7 circles in it. And you see you have from 6 to 12. One other option, you can go back to the ones that we have, the images that people created in the beginning, and you can comment on them because some of those might reflect some of the characteristics that we're looking for. They might have some of the criteria. So this is your task. These are your tools. I'm going to put one right here. So excellent, Andy just dropped it in. This right here, this link will take you to a shortcut so that you can have these 2 screens, because I don't want you having to write down everything, or I don't want you to have to memorize all of these links. So if you click on the link that Andy just put in the chat, which is MNSI Symmetry Challenges, or if you're using a phone, you can use the QR code, and it will get you to slides that have that. Lindsay is going to open breakout rooms, and we're gonna offer you guys the following choice. If you want to work on your own, there's going to be a room for that, for people to go to work on their own. If you want to work with other people and just have a chance to talk, that's going to be an option for you too. So decide, you're going to be able to choose for yourself which one you want to do. And so, yeah, I'll try to give you as much time as I can working on these, and yeah.
Okay, welcome back, everybody.
It helps to unmute. Andy, we're all back from the rooms?
That's correct. Everybody's back.
Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. That was much, much too fast. I mentioned this to one group, and I just want to mention it to all, that the gallery is actually going to remain open. And so I know that was not a lot of time, particularly to get kind of accustomed to the tools, but you should feel free to continue to add, and I hope that you will. If you do this activity with students, you should also feel free to have them add theirs there as well, if that's something you'd like. But we're gonna wrap up because it's that time. So I'm gonna put out these questions. I'm gonna kind of keep talking. There's some like announcements and things that we'll be making. But I just want to put these two questions out if someone would like to share any of their response in the chat. You can basically say anything you'd like, but to offer 2-sentence starters, one thing I learned about symmetry is, I'm kind of curious what might have come out that way. One thing I'm wondering about symmetry is, those are 2 prompts that I use for all learners. So whether or not they're students or teachers, they're all learners. So I use those, but also as teachers, I know some people had some thoughts. I just wanted to say one thing. So I said that this activity it was designed by a bunch of teachers from the Adult Numeracy Network. And so I just wanted to share that information up there. It's a network national network of teachers who are just working for adult literacy and trying to improve adult literacy education for our adult learners. And so when we created this activity, we wanted something that led with beauty, that students felt accessible to. Symmetry and kind of the definitional stuff that we went to, that's the secondary stuff. Humans have been engaging with symmetry and rotational symmetry and line symmetry since the beginning of time. And so it's accessible to everybody. And so we wanted to kind of create something that was pretty and beautiful, but also that had real mathematical content, but mathematical content that came from students themselves. Like when you all started in the beginning and you were just coloring it in, many of your designs, not that you were thinking of it necessarily, but had rotational symmetry or had line symmetry. So the Adult Numeracy Network, here's the website. There's lots of resources there, including there's a whole section on math and art, including the activities that we did, but also plenty of other activities. So I recommend checking that out. Here's just my name and contact information. If someone wouldn't mind dropping it in the chat, Andy or Lindsay, so that I can continue the slide, but I know that there was, there's just a lot of ideas in this, and I just wanted to kind of share them, but I'm really interested in what folks do with them with your students, and I would love to just hear about it. Or if you have further questions, please reach out to me. It's just my name, but my name is complicated. And so Andy, someone already put it in the chat, both of these links, but Math Institute is coming up September 24th. You can register now. The registration link is up in the chat. And then also the Minnesota State Fair is looking for volunteers for Math on a Stick. If you volunteer, your admission to the fair for that day is free, is covered. You can sign up here, and that link is the Sign Up Genius link that Andy dropped. Andy or Lindsay, are there any other further announcements that I'm not making?
No, I think that's
fantastic.
Cool.
Great.
Well, I want to thank Andy and Lindsay for all your help and support. I want to thank all of you for coming. It's going to be a great day with the rest of the Institute, so I'll look forward to seeing you in other sessions. Thank you so much for sharing your work and your time, and have a great day. Thanks, everybody.